Everyone has a Moonblade build. It's one of the most powerful weapons in the entire game. It's one of the most popular as well. You basically have a katana and Intelligence, which are some of the most broken things in the game. That being said, I didn't make my build, and as a matter of fact, I know that there's a lot of Vergil builds as well, but this is not modded. And I decided that I was going to start uploading more builds for us to choose new builds to try to play until Shadow of the Erdtree comes in here, and also for us to use these builds to try Shadow of the Erdtree. Of course, every time that From Software adds an expansion, there's always new weapons that you should be trying out, that you should be using. But for the very first stages of it all, until we find a weapon that we would very much like to try in the expansion, we should be prepared and have a build. So that being said, this is going to be my Vergil build. It's very powerful, and we're only going to be using the Moonveil katana and the Carrion phalanx, mainly for cosplay purposes. But with this build, we are going to have the soft cap for intelligence, and since we have the 80 on intelligence, we have more than enough spell power, spell scaling, to use all of the sorceries that you would like to use. As a matter of fact, you can use this thing as a base, and then you can cast all of these sorceries that you want to. That being said, what is the Moonveil going to give us? The Ash of War, the Moonveil, it's basically going to give you pure power, damage, and if you pair it up with the Carrion phalanx, both of them, the spell and the weapon itself, they deal huge and tremendous amounts of damage, but also together they deal huge amounts of posture damage. So you're going to be likely going to be staggering enemies quite a lot for those critical hits. So the combo is that you cast Carrion phalanx and then you follow it up with the Ash of War of the Moonveil, and like I said, both of them on themselves, they deal decent amount of posture damage to stagger enemies. Moonveil has not been buffed nor nerfed that much. It was nerfed on PvP, and that's it. The buff that it did receive a little bit more is, but this was a general buff that they did, I do believe, in patch 107. The tracking of the weapons, or was it 109? I do not remember, but the tracking of some Ashes of War now actually aims to the direction that you're aiming the weapon to, so that is something very nice. Let's speak about the stats. Here you have the 75 version of the build, 120 version of the build, and 150 version of the build. 150 version of the build is going to be the most powerful of them all, like always, and if you want to go beyond than this, it's really pointless. This is like as powerful as you will get. As you can see, it is a very stat hungry build. I am not going to lie, and we are going to actually be using a little bit of FP on mine, so you're going to have to make some concessions in here. I would advise for you to have more mind than vigor with this specific build, because we are relying a little bit more. The damage of the one-handed weapon on itself, it's very good. In some of the most interesting situations, heavy boss fights, it's not going to help you that much. So you do want to be spamming the Ash of War and the Carrion phalanx. Although all of the gameplay that you saw just previously, it was a New Game Plus, and if you carry 3 or 4 flasks of blue flasks, that should be more than enough for you to be able to spam all of the Ash of War and the Carrion phalanx, and that should be enough to down pretty much everyone, because like I said, this New Game Plus 7, and we were doing endgame bosses and we were doing just fine. So this is the mind that you are going to reach, although I would advise for you to tone down vigor a little bit more, just a tiny little bit more, and pop it up into minds. Endurance, we are not going to be using that much of endurance, and strength and dexterity, those are only the requirements that we need to be able to wield the weapon. So those we should be getting them ASAP, as soon as possible, should be your first priority. As for the class, both if you want to min-max, I do believe that Samurai and Prisoner, those are the ones that are going to allow you to achieve this build as soon as possible and as min-max as possible. All of the other classes are going to require a little bit more of investment. It's not something that you cannot do. Like always in Elden Ring, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific class. You can basically branch into whatever you want. But if you want to min-max the character and be as low level as possible, Samurai and Prisoner, those are going to be your go-to if you want to min-max the character. So, and then again, we do have the soft cap for Intelligence. So that is very, very nice. This is the most damage that we are going to deal. The physical damage is going to start depleting a little bit sooner, but the spell buff that you get for the Carrion Phalanx, and as a matter of fact, I am just using the Carrion Phalanx for the sake of build cosplay purposes, but basically you have the soft cap, dude, and you can place a whole lot more different spells in this that you can play around with them at your heart content, and it's just going to be amazing and it's going to be beautiful. Now, let's talk about the equipment on itself. As for the Carrion Regal Scepter, we're not going to be using any kind of specific scepter. I know that the Carrion, I don't believe that I have any more than this in this character. They do get buffs from different scepters, catalyzers that you're using. But at the end of the day, you have 80 intelligence, so you basically have reached the highest spell buff that you are going to get, and it doesn't really matter. So yeah, the Carrion Regal Scepter, that's what you should be using. Of course, the Moonveil, take this, get this as soon as possible, and I found out that the Preceptor's long gown, which is Lewis's armor, it really resembles a little bit more what Vergil should be. So, and I paired it up with the Knight's Cavalry Greaves and Preceptor's Gloves, just to have those gloves and that extra little darkness into the armor. So those are that's the equipment if you want to basically follow the cosplay, although you do not need to, because like I said, this is the perfect base for a mage. If you want to be a mage, you want to use all kind of different sorceries, then you're going to be able to do so with this. Alright? So then we have the Graven Mass Talisman. This is going to increase the potency of your sorceries, as well as Radagon icon that is going to allow you to cast faster. We do not have high dexterity, so we do not have increased speed in casting. We are going to be relying on Radagon's icon. And then we have the Shard of Alexander to increase the damage of the Moonveil on itself. That is what it's going to be doing. And then we're going to have one spare in here, one spare talisman. You can most definitely use, for example, the Graven School Talisman if you want to increase the damage of your phalanx that little bit more. It's not going to be that much more. Phalanx is usually going to give like 1200 damage, so 1200 damage. It's going to add 4% damage, which is not going to be that huge, but at the end of the day, it's free damage. That if you want to have it, then there you have it. It's just basically free damage. The other thing that you could be using is the Magic Cracked Ring, but it's too much of a pain to go through Lewis's questline to get it, and it's also going to increase the damage that you take in higher levels of the New Game Plus. It's really not that worth it. So that's another ring talisman that you could be most definitely using. But solid choices, like always. It's of course the Erdtree's favor. A little bit more HP and stamina, it's always nice. Crimson Amber Medallion, and also if you want to tone down the level a little bit more, you can most definitely use the heirloom that provides a little bit more intelligence. I do not remember which one was it, but you can most definitely use that heirloom. And as for the Flasks of Wondrous Physique, either, well, Magic Crack Shrouding Tier, it's of course going to be a must, something that you are going to be using, and then the other one, it's going to be up to you. if you either want to choose health, green burst, crystal tier, so on and so forth, whatnots, then you can most definitely use it. Also, there's that crack tier that gives you infinite mana FP consumption, which could be very much paired with Comet Azure. But yeah, that's for my personal preference. Now, like I said again, this is very versatile because you can basically do all kind of sorceries with this, and they are going to be tops on their damage. This is just going to be as higher damage as you're going to be able to reach with these sorceries. But if you want to follow the cosplay, if you want to be Vergil, then all you are going to be using it's the Carrion Phalanx and the Moonveil. And basically, like I told you before, if you pair them up together, they deal huge amounts of posture damage, of poise damage. And also the Carrion Phalanx, it's a very good idea to use it from when you are running from enemies. It's just a good idea to cast it and then heal. It's not going to work that much in bosses, but with basic enemies it's mostly, even the biggest one, it's mostly going to stagger them a little bit. It's not going to give you that critical hit, but it's going to make them flinch so that you can get away a little bit and heal or consume some more FP. So on and so forth. Anyways, that's a build. We're going to be making a little bit more of this, so until Shadow of the Erdtree launches, so that we have a little bit more builds. I think that I am going to have some little dynamics where I am going to post in the channel what kind of build or weapon would you like to see. So stay tuned, the community tab for that, and basically that's how I am thinking that we're going to be making the following builds, just to be ready for Shadow of the Erdtree. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. No one's told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.